All right, guys, the countdown has been taken care of. Hello and welcome. Very good evening to one and all. And by the way, it is a great thing that we are joined in yet again by our viewer from Delhi. So, Kartikeya, hope that you found about our Telegram channel yesterday and you downloaded the PDF. There was some homework. Hopefully, you did that. What I do know is that the other students have done the homework. I have received the homework by almost all the students, probably still missing on one or two of them. Let's start as usual by accepting some greetings and saying hi, hello. So Yatharth is the first one today to say hi. Good evening, Yatharth. Where were you yesterday? He also says hi all. Karthike, as I said, is here. This is now the second day when we have him today with us. So that's great. Pardon me for any network issue today, by the way. Yeah, there has been some rainfall, is it not? So pardon me if the stream is not as fluent as it was yesterday. Pardon me for that. Yes, Jay is here. Sagar is here. Shreyan, your homework is still due, or let's say now overdue, including yesterday's homework. You got to send it to me on Telegram. Only saying hi, sir, is not going to be enough, I'm afraid, if you want to improve in chess. Itesh says, good evening. Welcome. Chinmay, I believe, is here. Yes, Chinmay is here. Arya Mahakal is here. Hey, Arya, how are you? By the way, where were you yesterday? Be regular. Now, by the way, if the people are confused about what session applies to you, well, you have to attend every day. Now we are into the mode where the rising stars are our focus. So the lectures are meant for all. Dishen is here. That is wonderful. And Jay likes a thumbnail a lot. Oh, okay. Radesh is also here, still asking me this silly question where to submit it. Just go ahead and read WhatsApp. I've mentioned it very clearly what to do. Purvesh is here with some sanitized, what is that? Hand wash, maybe? I don't know. All right. And yes, I have received the homework. No need to ask me. If you send it, I will receive it, right? So, Purvesh, a big hello to you. Submit your homework. The new student, Harsh, you are also here. So the topic for today then, guys, it's a topic for today. The topic for today is queen versus advanced pawns. And that is really a topic that should be known to the rising stars because you may have a winning position, but then you have to convert. That is so important. So, yes, Granth is also here. We should be here at 55. I wonder why there often is a delay. So, queen versus advanced pawns, and I want you ready with your notepad because there are going to be things that you will have to jot down. As usual, Chinmay, Jai, make sure guys that you actually help people with whatever needs to be highlighted by typing it yet again in the chat if you can. So then, what's it going to be? The first thing that I want to teach you today, what's that? You have that on your screen now. The white queen, take a look at the position there. Don't look at the blank board. Take a look at our PDF copy. You will receive that later. This is important to be studied by juniors, mid-level students who get a winning position, but then they don't know how to stop the enemy passed pawns. So look at the white queen on E1. So the white queen on E1 cannot be dislodged by the enemy king or the blocked pawn. So the pawn on E2 and the black king can do nothing. I repeat, can't do anything about that queen on E1. The queen on E1 is just super. She cannot be dislodged. And by the way, what do you mean by dislodged? Cannot be forced to move. Only if white wants to move, he'll move the queen. There's nothing that black can do about it. Point noted. So if the best way to stop the passed pawn is if you can occupy the queening square. So like in this example that you see here, the illustration, the pawn is on E2. And so when the pawn is on E2, it will promote to E1. And then to stop that, you put your queen on E1. So now that's it, end of scope. There's nothing black can do. And so what white can do is just march the king, bring the king into the action. And then when the king and the queen together attack the pawn on E2, the pawn on E2 will be a goner. Very, very important. Okay. point to be noted, guys. Juniors, let me know. Let's just quickly set up this position, okay? Let's set up this position very quickly so that I can highlight. We have the king here. I just want to show you by moving the pieces here and there. Always is great thing to study that way. So now you can see I'm starting to use this board here. Okay, so what do I want to teach you here? This queen here that you see cannot be dislodged. So let's say it's white to play, then white can just move the king. What can black do here? Black cannot approach the queen. That's what I mean, cannot be dislodged. So the king, of course, doesn't want to leave the protection of the pawn. So the only real move that black has is king e3. That's it. So let's say he does go there. The king can keep the march going. Again, black really has no choice either to come back or maybe go this way. Let's say he goes that way. And now the king can enter this particular square. Now puts an end to black's prospects. So now there is no way black can continue to protect the pawn. Notice, I want you to notice and note this blockade. There's nothing that the pawn can do as long as the queen is on e1. And I want you to acknowledge that. That's very important. I want you guys to acknowledge that fact. That when you have the queen on e1, that's the square. You're controlling the square where the pawn will likely, is likely to promote. They're so helpless against the mighty queen. I hope you have noted this point. That's why I actually showed it to you over the board. I'm going to clear the board. There's nothing more over here. Just acknowledge the fact that you have learned something. Let's go to the next one. Now, what do we see here? In this position, now it's black to play. The white pawn is advanced to the 6th rank. Ooh, that's nasty, right? The white pawn has advanced to the 6th rank, and yeah, there's support of the king as well. That's very important. Jay, don't tell me that there is a lag. I have already at the start of the stream said that there might be some issues because there was some heavy rain and the internet has been on and off today. So pardon me for that. Right at the outset, I'm saying so. So coming to the point that the white pawn enjoys the support of the king as well, which was not the case the last time. So what are we going to do here? The way to win, the method that I've told everybody is in that particular second paragraph. If you see it clearly. The method is to approach the pawn with correct checks. Now this is what you should go ahead and type. Okay. So what's the method? The method is to approach the pawn with the correct checks. And that way when you eventually approach the pawn, you will definitely be able to win. Black will win this position. Although white's pawn is so far advanced, will win. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, queen g4 should be the right way to go. But let me set up the board. So the king is on a2. Queen's on b4. Then you have the white king on g1. You have the pawn on... This is the position. Now let's see. You can easily now follow from the moves that you have here. Okay. Queen g4 is the first move. Queen g4 check in a bid to approach. Okay. Thank you, Aryamaka. Thank you so much. You're very active. Very nice. Even Jay has done that. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's now go ahead and do it. So you have queen g4 check. Then king h8. Doesn't really matter where white goes. The idea is black queen will just approach. That's the idea. Now it's an interesting move. Queen f5. Watch that. Queen f5 is a very, very subtle move here, guys. If you see the logic. Why is that such a great move, queen f5? It's a great move, queen f5. Why? Queen f5 is a good move because now if white is careless and if white moves the pawn and let's say white pushes the pawn to h7, queen f8 is actually checkmate. Watch that. Beautiful checkmate. Brilliant, isn't it? Okay, so back to f5. That's why that won't happen. I've actually shared that in the notes. So king g7. And after that, you have queen g5 check. And you have king h7. And now it's time for us to play a waiting move here. Let's say king b3. Now, why was that waiting move important? Because now that means that white king will have to quit the support of this pawn. So white king will have to go to h8. That's forced. And the moment that happens, queen will be able to take the pawn and the checkmate is swift after that. So I hope, guys, that you've realized what we just achieved there. So the way we did this is by approaching the pawn and then finally pushing the king away, and then we will win. For one final time, I'm telling this to everybody. One final time. Don't tell me that there is possible lag. I know that myself, and I have said this. This is now the third time I'm saying this, that the internet is on and off because of the rains. We are experiencing some issues. So stop bothering that. Pay attention. If at all later, go ahead and rewatch the stream. You can always do that, but focus on the answer. Just don't waste your time typing the word lag or there is a lag. So, you can save that time and energy. I hope that you're clear with this, by the way. Let's go on to the next one. In this position, watch this position closely. Let me clear the board. You have the pawn not just on the 6th rank, but the 7th rank this time. Guys, this is something serious. This time the pawn is on the 7th rank. Boy, that is something that is incredible. And now you'll see the power of the queen. The pawn is almost about to be promoted, and still the queen will prove as a stronger piece here. No doubt about that. So let's see the way to win this position, but let's set up the board first. So king to h6, queen is on a8. The white pieces are done. The black king is on, there's a pawn about to promote. And e1, the pawn shall promote. Ooh, how dangerous is this pawn here? It's very dangerous. However, the queen is the queen, as they say. And still, we will win here. I mean, I assume that we are playing the white pieces here. What is the way to go about it? So go ahead and type the lines in the chat. The method is so important. There are two ways you will win this position. Number one is you approach the pawn with the correct checks. First point is you approach the pawn with the correct check. The second is you use the gained moves to bring the king into action. Okay. So first one is you approach the pawn with the correct check, something that we studied in the last position. And the second thing is that we should bring the king into action. So how is it that we can win here? Let's see the method in detail and let us try to play along the moves that you see on your screen right now. The best way, in my opinion, is to play queen d5 here, bringing the queen into the game and start approaching the pawn. That's what we studied in the last example as well. So queen d5. Then you have king c2. Doesn't matter what black plays. Our idea is to approach the pawn. So if the juniors are watching this, the best thing to learn here is the checks will help the queen come closer to the pawn. Okay? That's the best thing to happen. Now the other factor, I think Jay has an answer here, says queen d5 check, king c2, queen c4 check. Yes, sure, yes, type that. You also see the method on the screen, but good that Jay just highlighted it one more time. Jay, I think the better thing to type here is approach first the pawn. A, point number one. B, that's point number two, is that you use the gained moves to bring the king in the game. The gained moves, okay? G-A-I-N-E-D. We'll see what those are. So, okay, the first check and king c2. Okay, fine, that's done. Now, queen e3. Queen e3, yeah, that's possible. So, queen e3. But I think there is first we need to give one more check. Queen d4 check. Queen c4 check is better. Okay, queen c4 check. And then you have king d2. King will always go back to the same position. Anytime you repeat the moves, you have the same position played out 3 times, it's a draw, you know that. Okay. So king to d2, back to where the king was. Can that be the case? I think queen d4 check, king c2 was played. Queen e3. Oh, that's nice. Now black king has to come for the defense. So the black king is on d1. Has to come there. The king has to come there, otherwise the pawn will be lost. Isn't it? Yeah, that's right. That's why I've mentioned that in the notes. And then the queen now can give a nice check. So there's queen d3 check. Again, the king cannot leave the defense. So king e1. That is awesome. Okay. Jay, thank you so much. He's typed it correctly. So Jay is saying use the gained moves to move the king closer. I think the first one is also what he has typed. The first one is approach the pawn with proper checks. The second thing is that you have to use the gained moves to bring the king closer. Very important. Okay. And Purvesh, of course, acknowledging that. Now, this is the gained move, guys. This right here is a gained move. Jay, thank you so much. This is the gained move now. Why? Why do I say that? It's because the reason the pawn cannot promote here. The pawn cannot promote here. The king is right in front of the pawn. That's why now we have the chance to bring our king in the game. I hope you're getting it. Now we have the chance to bring the king in the game. Big chance. So yes, we are going to do that. So after this, we can go for king g5. King g5. King g5. Oh, not there. King g5. You want to approach the pawn swiftly. Why waste time? So king to the g5 square. After the gain move, of course. Then you have king f2. Now black is threatening promotion again. But now you play queen d2 and you notice that the pawn is pinned. New guys, the pawn is pinned. Yeah, the pawn is absolutely pinned. If you remember our previous lectures, the pawn is absolutely pinned. You cannot now promote. The pawn is pinned to the king. Absolute pin. So queen e2 did that. What happens later? You gain the move, and there is queen. Now, of course, black will try to play king f1 again. Can that happen? Let's look at the notes. What have we said here? We brought the king in the game. Queen d2. King f1. Yes, king f1. No doubt. And now queen f4 check. King to g2. Queen to e3. King to f1. Look at this exercise here. And now queen to f3 check. Again, the king has to protect the pawn. So king to e1. There is no other way out. And now again a gain move, right? So king f4. Watch how the king is slowly coming in the game. King to d2. Continue the exercise now. Queen to f2, because now again the pawn will be pinned. Pawn cannot promote. King d1. Now you know the drill. Check. From d4, right? Yeah. King to c2. Again, queen e3. Can that happen? Queen d4, queen c2, queen e3, correct. Force the king has to come back to support the pawn. Again, the check. The king has to shelter. Gain move. And now finally we have king f3. And now you will see that the king and the queen both are attacking the pawn. And the pawn is now going to fall because there are two attackers and just one defender. So look how nicely we got the king into the game. We gave a series of checks. We pinned the pawn. Then when we had the move, the gained move, we brought the king in the game. And finally, when we were in a position, when the king and the queen together attacked the pawn, the king was helpless. And the pawn now will fall and the checkmate will follow. And by the way, the biggest thing to happen today is, well, we have these net issues today. But fortunately, this lecture, that's now you will realize the benefit. Jay, sure, you can type that. The benefit of having the lecture in a PDF format. So in the eventuality where, you know, you have some net issues now, in the rainy season, that can happen once or twice, occasionally it can happen. Normally our streams are very fluent, but then sometimes it can happen. And so therefore, the advantage of the PDF, you have that on our channel, so you can always go ahead and study that. It's a very important principle. Chinmay says, yes, I understood that last position. Yes, Chinmay, you Grant, you know, the next big things. Hitesh as well. But Hitesh, has actually, you need to answer more. Hitesh, I believe that you properly followed this. The way we approach the king, it's very important. That's why pay attention. You have the notes in front of you. You will set up your own board when you get the PDF on our Telegram channel. Very important. Namish is typed, yes, sir. He's understood that. Namish, I am impressed, my dear fellow. Awesome. Really awesome. Fantastic. Which means that we can move to the next one. Now look at this position that you have. Let me clear the board. Here, it's a draw. Yes, the queen is mighty, but sometimes the pawn can prove mightier and you know, our opponent can hold on to the position. There is nothing for me to set up, you know, why I should set up the board except to show you the stalemate maybe. Sure, so the king is here, the pawn's waiting for the promotion on a2. There is this white queen here and there's king on h3. Now, one thing is for sure, if white does not release the stalemate idea, then it is disaster, having the queen, and it will be stalemate. But eventually that will be the result of the game. It is a draw. This game is a draw. Okay. Hitesh says, yes, sure, I was noting down everything. Hitesh is a good student. Very good student, Hitesh. Hitesh says that I was noting down everything, so I have everything in my notes. Plus, when you get this PDF copy on the Telegram channel, you can actually sit with your board. You remember, guys, you used to make videos for our channels. We'll start that soon as well, by the way. Chinmay, Hitesh, if you remember, you made videos showing your games, showing a solution for the puzzles that I used to put. You can actually have your board here, guys, and then you can do this. What say? That's nice. I repeat, this position will be stalemate. Here, the black king will have nowhere to go and no move to make, and this will be stalemate. Not checkmate, but a stalemate. So white has to play something that's, you know, going to allow a move to black. And then whatever happens, black will just keep playing king b2, king b1, king a1, and that's it. Nothing else will happen. And eventually this will end in a draw. Point to note. So when this is a situation, and especially when the white king, that is the point to write. Jay can type that. That is the line to write. When the king, why is this a stalemate idea? Because the king is so far away on h3 that the king doesn't come to rescue on time. If you remember from the last position, the king has also got to join the party. Then it's fun. If the king cannot join forces with the queen, sometimes queen alone will not be able to do the job, which is exactly what's happening here. Let's go to the next one. Ooh, this is interesting. What's happening here? Here black can draw, but what is the big condition there? It is possible only with accurate play. So there are options. King can go to A1, king can go to C1. There are options. One option is good one, the other one not so good. So black can only manage to hold on to this position with a draw or to a draw, but with accurate play. There is no chance black will win, but black can play accurately and not let white win. How about that? The most important thing for black here is that it does not have to hold on to his pawn. Point noted. And that happens with the bishop pawn. I repeat that happens with the bishop pawn. Somebody can type that. Whenever it's the bishop pawn, the king doesn't have to actually keep protecting the pawn. The king can just say, take the pawn, and it will be stalemate. The moment white king takes that pawn, it is going to be the stalemate. That's why Chinmay also agrees there is a green arrow. Maybe king A1 is the better idea. If you go to C1, we saw in previous positions that will allow white a gained move. And not just that, the king won't come then back to this B1 square. And that will mean that white will win. Okay, so let's see what's going to happen here. Grant says, yes, sure, A1. Let me set up this position to show you that position. That's with actual play, that is. This one is just a static image. That's why when you have this on the PDF, I strongly suggest you use your board, guys. It's black to play here. Black is already in check. The choices I have given you are these, okay? So what do you do here? Of course, king A1. Now, why king A1 is good? It's because it will be stalemate. Sure. The moment white queen take this pawn, that's checkmate. Black is not in check, but black has nowhere to go. This is plain and simple checkmate. Okay. So, let's see. White, however, over here, can play a trick. If the king is closer, this position is a draw. After the king goes to A1, or this position is a draw. However, you will see the next position, if the king is closer, the position is more or less the same, but now watch what has happened. The king from here is all the way to this B5 square. And here, they try to trick black in this position. And you would love this position, especially later on when you sit down calmly to play with your board. You definitely love this position, okay? What's the trick here? When the king goes to A1, of course, let's say that, okay, this is the position, black is in check. And of course, like the last position, black will go to A1, king A1. Now, of course, white does not want to take the pawn because it's stalemate. White knows that. So what's the trick I'm talking about? The trick here is white will play queen E3. Now, Grant, Chinmay, Namish, Itesh, Rayansh, all these Jay, all these rising stars will definitely love this position, because the trick is not so easy to see, and especially if the time is an issue, because we are already in the end game. So it can happen that your opponent is struggling for time here. White has not taken that pawn, but white has played queen E3. White has played queen E3. So the idea behind queen E3 is not to let black promote immediately. There's no chance now black will promote. Queen will just take, right? There's no chance of that happening right now. Okay, so understood that. Well, then you would say he won't do that. So he will play king b2. Again, no problem. So here is the big thing now. And watch this. And I would love your comments on this. After king b2, you set the trap. Remember, not with king d2. Not with queen d2. It happens with queen e2. That can only happen with queen e2. All right. Hitesh says, yes, sure, I'm noting it down. No doubt about that. Watch it, guys. Watch it. Queen e2 does the trick. Now, why is this a big trick? Watch the notation. I've given you the notes. Watch the notes. The right move for black, is to stop worrying about the pawn and go to a1 and let white take that pawn. We already know that the moment white queen takes that pawn, it will be a stalemate. So black should not forget this principle. However, ask yourself, it is very natural in this position for black to continue with the move king b1 and continue to support the pawn. And hey, that means that white will win here. Now watch this checkmate. Guys, you will love this checkmate. It is simply awesome, and I am sure to get some comments from you. After king b1, the game has changed completely. Now you would say, why? What has happened here? Why has the game changed so much? Now, white plays king b4. Again, big surprise. King b4, but is black not going to queen? Yes, black will queen. Again, more surprises like, how did we allow black to queen? And sir, now even now you're saying white will win. Yes, because now look at the next white move, guys. Just look at the white's next move. White's next move is a deadly king b3. And although black has a queen here, you will see that queen cannot be brought to b2 because there is a lot of force and black will be checkmated. Also, although black has queen here, there is no chance for the black queen to give a good check. And yes, after king b4, Chin might add king b4. And later we'll bring the king to b3. As Chin has typed correctly. So guys, watch this. This is incredible. Black has a queen on the board. But white will win here now. The queen cannot do anything. There is not a single check. Let's watch this. Can you check from here? No, it will be checkmate. Can you check from here? No, it will be taken. Can you check from here? No, queen takes. Can you check here? No, the king takes. Can you check here? No. Can you check here? No. Can you check here? No. Guys, look at that. Queen on the board. How often does that happen? Black has a queen on the board, but with this small push, a minor push, king b3, and black cannot do anything. This is really shocking. This is really surprising, but black cannot do anything here despite the queen. That's the helplessness. If you remember our level 4 notes, was it the level 4 notes, guys? You had this checkmate. It was a game. Grandmaster Vishwanathan Anand versus Grandmaster Pravin Tipse. 1979. Was it Chennai? Was it Coimbatore? Some tournament in India. And you had this possession. Although I must say, I think it was more on the A file, B file. Not exactly this position, but more or less the idea is the same. So that's why in this position, in level 3, Yatharth says it was in level 3. Yeah, it was in the level 3. And so the best thing in my opinion, what the black queen can do is probably just go here. But that doesn't help because it will be checkmate. The only way black can save this is black should remember that he should not babysit the pawn. That was the trap, guys. That was the trap. The king was on b5. The queen was nowhere in question. There was this pawn that we were talking about. This was the trap that was set. And over here, black has to remember not to babysit the pawn. Let white take that pawn. Yes, even Jay acknowledging that it was this level 3. Chinmay says that I think it was Grandmaster Vishwanathan Anand game. You can type GM. It's a title. Grandmaster Vishwanathan Anand. Jay says it's level 3. I remember. What a position. Next one. Now here you have to jot it down and here you have to type it in the chat. Jay, Chinmay, all these rising stars, go ahead and type that. This is a theory that you must study. What's the theory? I have some squares highlighted with red circles. The red circles show that in this position that we studied, how far can the king be? If the king is on any of the squares, if the king is on any of the squares highlighted by the red circles, then white will win. Somebody has to type that. It's so important, guys. It's beautiful. Because the ultimate goal will be after, of course, here it's white to play. Don't forget that. It's white to play, guys. After black promotes, our king, if the king manages to get to the b3 square, we saw it the last time, right? In the last position, this is exactly what we were studying. So after promotion, if the king gets to b3, black will lose even with the queen on the board. So the king can be in any of those red colored or red encircled squares. What are those squares? A5, B5, C5, D5, A4, B4, C4. Jay doing a magnificent job for all of us. Okay. Says the red circles show that in this position we studied how far can the king be, or probably how close the king can be. If the king is anywhere closer than that, well and true, it's white win. But as far as the red squares, are there issues if the king is too far? Yes, we've already studied one position today where the king was too far and then that ended in a draw. If you remember that position, the king was on h3. Remember, if the king is very far away from the pawn, then it will be a draw. Here, the king, if it's in the red circle, white will win. We'll deal with one position where the king will be too far probably. Oh, talking of that, here we have it. I'll have to set up the board. Let me quickly do that. The king is on e5. Then there's white queen here on a2. Black has an advanced pawn. Hello, that's what the lecture is about. The pawn is on c2 ready for promotion. And it is black to play, is it? Yes. It is black to play. And in this position, the king, if I have written it in the notes, and you will see why. Again, I will say this. When you get today's PDF copy, you should sit down with your board, have the notes ready. And by the way, Prajna was wondering how we could send the answers for the PDF homework. It's fillable PDF. So you can download the PDF and type your answers. You don't have to take photos after you have typed. You can save it. After you type the answers, you can save the copy and then send that copy to me on Telegram channel, of course. But on my ID, you can't upload on the channel. No, you can't. To me. So in this position now, let's see. Why do I say that the king is a little too far from the defenses? By the way, Abir, you need to ask your parents to call me. Acknowledge that message as well, Abir. It's the 2nd of June. Have your parents call me, Abir. Jay, you can type that message for Abir. So Abir, make sure your parents call me, and they can call me on Friday, 11:30. Friday, 11:30. Make sure, Abir, you ask them to call me. Okay, but Abir, I hope that you are making notes here. I hope that you are already on the Telegram channel. Hope you are there. So black will play king c3 and not king d1. Guys, remember, if you play that king d1, again the same ideas. There will be this king d4 and king d3. You remember how the king will enter the square, and black, even with the queen, will not be able to do anything. So let's say if king d1, then king d4. Black will be happy that he has a queen, la la la. But then the king will come d3, and again that same position where the black has a queen, but black will lose. Okay, that is something very important. Thank you, Jay. Thank you so much. Abir, do acknowledge that message. Your parents should give me a call. Acknowledge that message on Friday, 11:30. Jay could have mentioned the timing as well. Anyway, 11:30 is when I would be happy to get a call. Right then. And let's go back to the position. So that is the position, yes, I said, where black will get the queen but of no use. So let's put the queen out of the equation. Where's the white king? On e5. So first move is king to, let's see how black can hold to a draw here. Black has to play accurately here, not king d1. I've showed you the trap. So king c3, then queen a3 check, king to d2. If white also repeats the move, black will also repeat, and threefold repetition will be a draw. So now what happens? Queen to b2, the pawn is pinned. That's always the idea. Let's see if white is going to try for a gained move here. But that's exactly the problem here. That doesn't work here. Why? Why that doesn't work is because the king is one square too far away. We'll see why. Okay, so again king d1. So now the threat is pawn promotion. And now you will see, if the king, imagine the king was on the square d4, then the king would have, then the king would have come here, and that would have meant the same position where black would have had the queen but with no use. Here the difference is, the moment black queen will attack white queen. So it will be a forced exchange. And if not a forced exchange, then both will have the queens and it will end in the draw. That's the difference. That's why I said the king is a little too far. Okay, so how does the position continue here? So the last move, I believe, was king to d1. There's no problem with that. Queen d4 check. That's a try by white. King c1. Yes, a gained move, but it doesn't help do anything because, yeah, the king may try. But now king b1. Again, the threat of pawn promotion. So obviously, queen d3. Pinning the pawn. Can't promote. The pawn will not be able to promote. But king b2. Again, the pawn promotion is the threat. Queen d2. Again, pinning the pawn. Look at this common exercise. Start building your chess knowledge. This is the typical pattern now that we see in this lecture. You pin the pawn and then get a gain move to bring the king in get the king in the position. But here the king was one square too far away. One square too far away. Can't get to b3 or d3 on time. Remember, we saw that the king has to, after promotion, the king has to get in the opposition in the third rank here in this case. That doesn't happen here. Okay, so now what? Again, the pawn is pinned, right? The pawn is pinned. Yeah, sure. King b1. Again, if white goes about just pinning the pawn, then again, king b2, the same thing will happen. So, king b1. Again, that's very bad. It's not. Queen b4 check. King a2 here. Doesn't matter. Queen c3. King comes for the defense. Queen to b3 check. Okay. And again, the same idea, king a1. We saw now this position, surely you know now. By now, you surely know this position. Now, the white queen, the moment white queen takes, The notes are in detail. The notes have the variation as well. So guys, something very important for you to study. Let me know, guys. This is interesting. But for that, you have to actually sit with your board, with your pieces, and have your PDF. Or maybe set up this position on leeches if you're working only strictly on the computer. If you don't want to play over the board, then this is how it goes. Okay. What else? Next position. Oh, this one is interesting. You are going to love this position. How strong can the queen be? I mean, strong is one word, but then just how strong? The queen is on this square. There are two pawns waiting for promotion. Unbelievable. Pawns on e2 and d2. I mean, okay, the queen is strong, but how strong? Boy, how strong? In this position, you have got two pass pawns, both on the 7th rank, and boy, still white will win. Some comments. Still white will win in this position. That's why you love chess. I mean, if you understand the end games or what the pieces can and cannot do, of what is okay distance for the king and what's not, the power of the opposition, and so many things we have studied. Over here, it looks like it's game over. It will be a draw, or even, black may win because there are two pawns on the 7th rank. Now that is huge. To my knowledge, that is just huge. What is white going to do here? Now watch the sequence. Watch how the queen will approach the pawns and gobble up the pawns one by one with the help of the king support later. And the checkmate is fabulous, where Chinmay and Jay can probably participate more. Okay. Let's see. The first one then, you start with queen h6 check. No problem. King d3. Then you start with queen c5 check. Wait a minute. Why queen c5 check? Queen d6 check, yeah. The king will come back. Again, if the queen goes back, back and forth, it will be a draw. So now we are going to play queen c5 check. White can win here. Black will say, okay, I'm going back to d3. What are you going to do? And now notice what is going to happen here. Queen c2 check with the help of the king support. Some comments. With the help of the king. Queen c2 check. That's amazing. Queen c2 check. And now king to e3. Now do you see the move that will help white get the first pawn? You play this move queen c3. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely amazing. Okay. So this is something that you have to remember. That's the way you will win the first pawn. What else? King will now go, right? Takes. Oops, not there. Oops, is the queen. Now what do you do? Yeah. So you use the same idea of gained move here. You use the same idea, guys. So you play. You can play this probably. King here, check. And now you play this. The only move black king has is king d1. Boy, this is some checkmate. This is some checkmate. There's no doubt about that. This is some checkmate. What a checkmate this is. A pawn that was hope for the black. Turns out, this is just brilliant. Okay. And that's why I love these positions. This is just brilliant. Same exercise. Okay, same exercise. All right. Let's continue. Are there more positions? Or are we coming to the end of it? Oh yes, this position is good as well. Let me clear the board and set up the position for you to learn. Boy, do I hate it when the net connection sucks, because then the stream gets affected. Anyway, this is the position here. Watch it, guys. Again, two passed pawns. Again, they are enjoying this particular advantage of the king support. That's nice. So they have the king support. But still, the queen will prove too strong for the two pawns. How is that possible? Let's go through it. Watch the notes, guys. The notes are there on your screen. King d4. Let's get the king to d4. White will be happier because, hey, now one move and I'll promote. Black will say, hold on. Queen g6, check. Then there is no problem for white. Says king a7. I'm going towards glory here. Black says, not so fast. So I have pinned the pawn. You cannot do that just in this move, sir. You have to wait. Okay, white says, now king a8. Now I'm threatening again. Black comes in the game with queen d5. Again, with the idea of gaining a move. Remember what's happening here. Slowly coming closer and closer. Now white says, okay, let me join forces. How are you going to stop the second pawn? a6. The second pawn is coming as well. King c5. Oops, the king cannot go there. Flying king. Okay, king c5. One square at a time. Hello. Okay, again the pawn is pinned. Nothing that you can do really. So after king c5, there's king a7. Again, the threat is there. I'm going to promote the pawn now. There is always this threat. Whenever there is no gained move, there is always this threat. And what is the threat now? Yeah, the threat is, of course, the pawn promotion. Now what happens? Do we allow promotion? No, right? We don't allow promotion. Queen d7. We don't allow promotion, guys. That's only when if you are getting the king in the opposition. Only if the king gets the opposition, then we allow that promotion where it could be checkmate. Remember that. Otherwise not. Again, the pawn has been pinned, so we will gain a move here. One way or the other. King a1, king can go anywhere. In fact, a8, not a1. So king a8. Again, there is a threat, pawn promotion. And I watch this move. How cool is that? What's this move here? Queen to a6. I don't know. Maybe this queen to a6. I'm not sure about that. Because now the threat is that you want to stop the white from promotion, is it not? Yeah, king a8. Queen c6. Yeah, again the same idea. You pin the pawn. Queen c6. And you have king a7. What else can you do? The king can go on b8. But the same idea is going to happen. You get a gain move, whichever way you look at it. If the king goes to b8, then this is the gain move. And then after king here, black queen will take the pawn. So if king a7, now you have queen b6 check. And now, whichever way the king goes, queen can gobble up the pawns. And the mate should follow soon. Oh, that is it. That is just brilliant. King b6 is not the idea. So Chinmay, you got it slightly wrong there. King b6, that's not the idea. The idea is that the queen comes to b6 with the idea of taking one of the pawns. Juniors, don't just copy what Chinmay and the others are saying. Don't do that. Absolutely, don't do that. Okay, so the next one then. I think we are now coming on to the last position or second last position. Maybe this is the last position. And the one actually with the end screen and everything will be a very cool position where the pawns can stop the queen from taking an entrance into the territory. We'll come to that after this particular position. Let me set up this position more or less related to that last position. But how is it related to our lecture today? Black has just promoted the pawn to queen and still white will win here. How? Let me set up the position. So, clear board. The white king is on e3. Queen is on b8. The black king here. The black queen's just on the board now. So maybe the pawn has been promoted. That's just on the board. Let's look at the sequence. More or less now you know the sequence, okay? It's the same idea. So let's start. How are we going to do this? How are we going to approach? Remember last time the queen was closer. This time the queen is not close enough. So we have to achieve that thing first. Then only will white be able to win in this position. The queen is not so close. And so what are we going to do here? How to bring the queen close? Queen b2 check starts everything. King g3. Of course, if the queens are exchanged, it's a draw, but white can win here. That's why white is trying it this way. Let's go to g7, give a check. King h3. Doesn't matter even if king h2, the same idea, because we are going to give queen h6 check anyway. The idea is that we are slowly going to approach. So king h3, queen h6 check, king g2, queen g5 check. Watch how the queen is slowly approaching. King f1, the same idea will not continue for long. And now queen f4 check, king g2. Black will say, why should I go anywhere else? And now this is interesting. After queen g4 check, king h2. Notice there's something special here. In this position, I'm giving you two arrows. And probably this is the first time where you'll think and let me know. I'm going to give you about a minute. Yeah, but I won't bring the countdown timer because the internet is quite shaky today. But approximately a minute. What happens if black plays the green arrow and you have the notes? So just go ahead and type it. What happens then? What happens, guys? If, let's say, black plays king to f1, what happens then? Something cool. It's checkmate. Yeah, it is checkmate. How? Let me quickly show you. Yes, queen e2 is not checkmate. Grant, you are being very hasty these days. Queen e2 is not checkmate. Watch it, Grant. Queen e2 is a check. The mate comes later. King g1. And now queen f2 is checkmate. Grant, you want to type steadily. You don't want to type hastily. Queen e2 is, and you had the notes, man, on the screen. You still made that mistake. Hitesh is impressing me. Queen e2 check, king g1. Not queen g2, Hitesh as well. Very hasty. Hitesh, my dear. Should the queen go on g2? Is that a mate? Watch the board. f2, not f1. Even Yachar is going wrong with that. Hitesh, my dear, what happened? Not g2. Queen will take. That's why I've drawn the arrows there. Queen f2, mate. Be careful. Let's go back. In this position, it's queen e2 check first. King g1. And then queen f2 is made. Not queen g2. Without support, what's up? I hope Hitesh has realized his mistake. Yes, Hitesh did type queen f2. Yes, Hitesh acknowledges it's just a typing mistake. But then, come on, okay. That's why, let's go back. That's why over here, the move is king h2. And now what happens is king f2. If you recollect, it's the same idea where the king has the opposition, but black, despite of the queen, will be checkmated. This goes to show how powerful opposition is. Even with the queen, this is again very similar to that Grandmaster Anand and Grandmaster Praveen Tipse game. Right time, you get the opposition, and even if the opponent has the queen, well, it doesn't work. Now for the last thing that I wanted to share with you today. This is awesome. Look at this position, guys. I don't need the board for this because this is for you to study at home. I want some comments about this position. Black is a queen up. Somebody type that. Somebody might miss this fact that black is a queen up here. And despite of the fact that black is a queen up, despite that fact, okay, there is no chance for black to win this game because white's pawn structure and the king is in such a position that the black queen will not be able to penetrate. The enemy can. So let's see what happens here. The black here is queen up, I've mentioned in the notes, but the structure is such that despite of this material advantage, huge material advantage, black can achieve nothing more than a draw. And how is this a positional draw? White just continues to play king c1, king c2, king c1, king c2, that's all. Just to stop, black queen from coming into the camp with the b file. Black may say, hey, I have got the open e file. That can work. In that case, if the black queen tries to enter the territory with the e file, well, in that case, the king just moves d1, d2. The king d1, king d2, king d1, king d2. That's going to be the sequence. And you can try this on the board. You can put this on your leeches. You will be surprised. You will be surprised. There's no way. There is no way black can make any progress even when black has queen. So these are just some extraordinary positions that you must know. Even with the queen, it doesn't help. Now, as usual, you'll have this PDF copy, and there is no homework today, but that is no homework to send onto the fillable PDF and then onto the Telegram ID. But you'll have some revision to do. Revise all the positions that we have studied today. It was wonderful to bring those positions to you. But one revision question I have for you. One revision question. We always do the revision. The stream hasn't been fluent. There was a big net issue on and off. Hopefully tomorrow that doesn't happen. Hopefully. And next week we are going to go back to games. That would be interesting, guys. I have prepared something special for you tomorrow as well. I'll let you know what that is. But first, this revision, and then we'll stop the stream. Guys, let's see if you can help me. Okay, made in 2 moves. That's your revision. Let's do this and then end the stream, guys. Chinmay, Itesh, come on now. White to play and checkmate in 2 moves. Checkmate in 2 moves, and then we stop. I'll send you this on the PDF later on the Telegram channel. Just 2 moves, and it's going to be checkmate, but how? Type down. Who will be the first to answer? Come on, end the stream with the correct answer here. Chinmay says queen f4, king d1, queen c1 is checkmate. How many people agree with that? Would they just cut copy what Chinmay is doing? So Chinmay's answer is, let's go to f4 square. If we go to this f4 square, we will stop the king from, making any moves on these squares. That means the king will have to forcefully go to d1, and then we will have our mate. Granth agrees with that. Jay agrees with that. Itesh, very nice. You agree with that. And yes, that's the right move. So let me play it. Queen to f4. Black pawn has no moves. The king has no moves. Nowhere to go. There's queen everywhere. So forcefully, and then queen to c1. Now that's a revision position, guys. It's because it's exactly from this lecture that we saw today. All right, we'll stop for now. Do take care. I agree that today we had some net issues. What's coming up? Tomorrow, something special, because we are now going to get back to this games thing from the next week. Your head-to-head battles can also begin. So lots of things coming up. Tomorrow, hopefully, the net will be better. Okay, take care. And study it using the PDF, guys. Study it using the PDF. Bye, guys. Bye, Jay. Thank you so much for being a good monitor. Bye.